Fine. Well, I don't know any of you guys out here have ever been divorced and told you bear it. It's not a bad thing. It's like it's a free ticket to paradise, you know? So I was like, let the games begin.
Ever wondered who's behind the towering presence of Tyrus? Meet his wife. Yup, she exists. And no, she's not just a background character. She is real. From glam shots to gossip, her life has sparked more than a few raised eyebrows. Whether you're a fan or a hater, there's no denying she adds some serious spice to Tyrus's story. Just a fair warning, this is not your typical love tale. Buckle up, because learning about the wife of Tyrus might just make you gag or gasp or admire her even more. We'll see. Tyrus's rock and love. Most people instantly think about the big, imposing wrestler with a commanding presence both inside and outside the ring when you hear the name Tyrus. But behind that towering figure is a personal life that often gets overlooked, especially the story about his wife. It's pretty fascinating because, for someone as tough and larger-than-life as Tyrus, his relationship shows a different, softer side that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a pro wrestler or TV personality. It's like the guy's whole persona flips when he talks about his wife. You get this genuine warmth and respect that's really refreshing. Now, Tyrus, whose real name is George Murdoch, has been pretty private about his marriage over the years, which makes it a bit tricky to pin down all the details. But from what's out there, you can tell that his wife plays a huge role in grounding him. Wrestling and entertainment can be wild, chaotic worlds, filled with long tours, intense physical demands, and a ton of pressure. For someone like Tyrus, who juggles wrestling, TV appearances, and even political commentary, having that steady home base is crucial. His wife seems to be that anchor, someone who keeps him balanced and supports him no matter what curveballs come his way. What's cool about their dynamic is that it seems very much rooted in real partnership, not just the glamorous side we sometimes imagine with celebrity couples. Tyrus has mentioned in interviews that having a supportive spouse makes all the difference when you're dealing with the highs and lows of fame and the unpredictable nature of wrestling storylines. And trust me, with a career like his, there are definitely plenty of ups and downs. But knowing that his wife is there cheering him on and probably rolling her eyes at his wrestling puns makes the tough days a lot easier. We can also get the sense that she's someone who respects his hustle but doesn't necessarily live in the wrestling world herself. That's kind of important because it gives Tyrus a break from the spotlight at home. When you're constantly in front of cameras and crowds, you need that personal space where you can just be yourself. No gimmicks, no personas. His wife probably provides that sanctuary. It's the kind of relationship where they can both be themselves and support each other's dreams and challenges without any added drama. Another thing that stands out is how Tyrus often speaks about loyalty and respect, which probably reflects how he views his marriage too. In wrestling, loyalty can be tested in crazy ways, but at home, it's all about trust and building something that lasts beyond the ring. You don't see the flash or the spectacle, but there's something quietly powerful about a relationship like that. It's not always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's the little things: a text check-in during a long tour, a listening ear after a tough match, or just sharing a laugh after a hard day. Ingrid Rink Herbert is a remarkable woman whose life story weaves together creativity, resilience, and a deep appreciation for meaningful connections. From an early age, Ingrid was drawn to the arts, finding expression in painting, writing, and music. Her passion for storytelling wasn't just a hobby, but a driving force that shaped her worldview and career. Growing up in a supportive environment, she was encouraged to explore her talents and embrace curiosity, which later translated into a diverse professional life where she combined creativity with leadership. Throughout her journey, Ingrid faced challenges like many do, but her approach was always one of determination and optimism. She believes that setbacks are simply setups for growth, and this mindset has carried her through both personal and professional trials. Ingrid's resilience is paired with a genuine warmth and empathy, making her a trusted friend and mentor to many. She has dedicated time to community projects and artistic initiatives, always eager to lift others as she climbs. A central part of Ingrid's happiness and growth has been her relationship with Tyrus. Their partnership is not only a testament to love, but to deep companionship. Ingrid and Tyrus complement each other beautifully. Where she brings passion and creative energy, he offers calm, stability, and unwavering support. Together, they navigate life's complexities with open communication and shared values, constantly learning and growing as individuals and as a couple. What stands out about their relationship is the balance they maintain between independence and togetherness. Both Ingrid and Tyrus pursue their own passions and dreams, yet they make time to nurture their connection. Whether it's through shared creative projects, travel adventures, or quiet evenings discussing their hopes and challenges, their bond remains strong and evolving. They inspire one another to embrace authenticity and vulnerability, creating a space where both feel safe and encouraged. Honestly, it's a reminder that no matter how big or famous you get, relationships remain the core of what keeps people sane and happy. For Tyrus, that means having his wife by his side, someone who sees beyond the wrestling persona and loves the man underneath. It's the kind of story that makes you appreciate that behind every public figure, there's a personal world full of real people and real feelings. While the spotlight usually shines on Tyrus himself, his wrestling career, his TV commentary, his unique personality, it's worth remembering the quieter story of his wife. She's the behind-the-scenes champion in his life, the one who holds down the fort and helps keep everything in perspective. And honestly, that's one of the most important roles anyone can play, whether you're a wrestling superstar or just living your everyday life. Now, let's get on to his success inside the ring. The funny giant. When wrestling fans talk about big, intimidating guys with a bit of personality and a wild career path, Tyrus, who went by Brodus Clay in WWE, definitely comes to mind. His WWE journey wasn't exactly a straight shot to the top, but it was memorable for all kinds of reasons. Before becoming a regular on cable news and working in NWA, Tyrus made waves and some funky dance moves in WWE, where he tried to blend power, charisma, and a whole lot of character work into one unique package. Tyrus first appeared on WWE's radar around 2010, when he was signed to a developmental contract and placed in Florida Championship Wrestling, FCW, which was WWE's developmental territory at the time. He had the size over 6'7" and tipping the scales around 370 pounds, and WWE was clearly trying to shape him into a monster heel. He eventually made his on-screen debut in WWE during the 4th season of NXT, back when it was more of a weird reality show than the wrestling showcase it later became. He was the rookie of Alberto Del Rio, which immediately gave him some spotlight. Even though he didn't win that season, he was intimidating and stood out because of his look and attitude. Once he got to the main roster, WWE tried to build him up as a destructive force. He was given the name Brodus Clay, and early on, he was used as a bodyguard enforcer type, silent, deadly, and not someone you'd want to mess with. But then something totally unexpected happened. In 2012, after weeks of hyping up his return with intense, menacing promos, fans expected a monster. Instead, They got the Funkosaurus. Yeah, the Funkosaurus. WWE completely flipped the script and turned Brodus Clay into this funky, dancing, fun-loving character who came out with dancers, the Funkadactyls, Naomi and Cameron, and grooved his way to the ring while wearing a red tracksuit and singing along to his entrance music. It was one of those only in WWE moments that had fans either laughing, scratching their heads, or both. Despite how bizarre the gimmick was, it actually became pretty popular with the crowd, especially kids. Brodus would squash opponents in short matches and then dance in the ring afterward. It was kind of like WWE's version of combining Rikishi's charisma with Earthquake's build. But over time, the act got a bit stale, and WWE wasn't quite sure what to do with him. Eventually, Brodus started to turn heel again, growing bitter that he wasn't being taken seriously. He feuded briefly with Tensai, another big guy with a rocky WWE return, and then the two were randomly put together as a tag team called Tons of Funk. They danced, they wrestled, they didn't win much. Eventually, the team dissolved, and Brodus once again tried going the serious route, calling himself a main event player and attacking smaller wrestlers to get heat. Unfortunately, WWE never really followed through with that push. He was mostly relegated to C-shows like Superstars or used as enhancement talent, and by 2014, WWE released him. That marked the end of Brodus Clay's run in the company, and it definitely left fans wondering, what if? He had the size, some charisma, and even got over with a super goofy gimmick. But WWE never seemed fully committed to giving him a meaningful spot on the card long-term. But wrestling-wise, he eventually ended up in TNA Impact Wrestling for a while, and then made a bigger splash in the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, where he actually captured the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. It was kind of wild to see the former Funkosaurus holding such a prestigious old-school wrestling title, but it proved he stuck with the business and carved out his own lane. In the grand scheme of WWE careers, Tyrus's run as Brodus Clay was more of a curiosity than a classic. He went from intimidating bodyguard to dancing dinosaur to frustrated big man in a matter of a few years. WWE didn't always use him to his full potential, but he made the most of it, gave fans something unforgettable, and then found new success after leaving the company. Whether you laughed with the Funkosaurus or scratched your head watching Tons of Funk, you definitely remembered him, and that's a win in wrestling. But seriously, no championships and accomplishments? While his time in WWE wasn't filled with championship gold, he still left an impression thanks to his size, character work, and later success in other promotions. Even though Tyrus didn't win any championships during his time in WWE, his post-WWE career, especially with NWA, showed a different side of him, one that could lead a company, carry a title, and be taken seriously as a main event player. In many ways, his journey is a great example of how not every wrestler finds success in WWE, but that doesn't mean they can't find it elsewhere. Tyrus turned a career of missed opportunities in WWE into something more meaningful later on. He proved that with patience, reinvention, and a strong work ethic, a wrestler can still find championship glory, even if it comes a little later in the game. A wild career transition. Tyrus managed to build a career that doesn't fit into just one box. He's not just a former wrestler, not just a commentator, not just a comic. He's all three, and somehow he's made it all work. A lot of people first saw him under the bright lights of WWE, where he performed as Brodus Clay. At first glance, he looked like your typical big, tough, intimidating wrestler. But then he broke the mold by becoming the Funkosaurus, a dancing, high-energy, totally unexpected character who entertained fans in a way few big men in wrestling ever had. That role showed off something really important. He had charisma, timing, and a sense of humor that made him stand out. Once his wrestling days started to slow down, Tyrus didn't just fade into the background like many ex-athletes do. Instead, he pulled off a rare move. He pivoted to television. But not just any television. He made a name for himself in political and satirical media, especially on Fox News. He started appearing as a regular guest on the Greg Gutfeld Show, which later became Gutfeld. And that's where a whole new audience started to appreciate his personality. He brought something really different to the table. While the others might have leaned heavily into political rants or over-the-top jokes, Tyrus played it cool. His humor is subtle, dry, and often built on clever observations. He doesn't yell, he doesn't interrupt, he just waits for the right moment and drops a line that leaves the whole panel laughing. His popularity on Gutfeld really took off, and fans loved the contrast he brought. Here's this massive guy, former wrestler, tough as nails, and yet he's delivering witty, low-key jokes and acting as the voice of reason in the chaos. People started tuning in specifically for his takes. Online, clips of Tyrus's appearances started to go viral, and his fan base grew well beyond wrestling. He became someone viewers could relate to, someone who didn't take himself too seriously, who could laugh at the world and at himself, and who wasn't afraid to be honest, even if it ruffled feathers. On top of that, Tyrus expanded into writing and speaking, further growing his presence in pop culture. His memoir, Just Tyrus, a memoir, gave fans a closer look into his life, his struggles, his upbringing, his journey through professional sports and media, and it was surprisingly raw and reflective. That's one thing that's helped his popularity. He doesn't try to be perfect. He owns his story, the ups and the downs, and shares it in a way that connects with people. He's been on book tours, talk shows, and even podcasts where his natural sense of humor and grounded way of speaking make him stand out in a world full of overly polished personalities. What really makes Tyrus unique in the comedy and TV world is his ability to cross audiences. He appeals to wrestling fans who remember his WWE days, political viewers who follow his commentary, and comedy fans who enjoy his deadpan delivery and occasional zingers. He's not a traditional stand-up comic, but he's absolutely a comic presence in the way he uses timing, facial expressions, and his physical stature to land a joke or make a scene funnier. Plus, his role on Gutfeld gives him a platform that most comedians would dream of, millions of viewers each night, and the freedom to speak his mind without trying to fit into a traditional mold. In terms of popularity, Tyrus has definitely become a breakout figure in the past few years. He's recognizable, memorable, and unpredictable in the best way. Whether he's telling a story about something from his wrestling days, offering a brutally honest opinion on a news topic, or just sitting back with that signature smirk while others argue around him, he's become a staple in late-night TV. A big part of his charm is that he doesn't seem to be trying too hard. He's just being himself, and that authenticity is what people are drawn to. Tyrus's political approach is rooted in personal responsibility. Time and again, he's used his platform to push back against what he sees as a culture of victimhood. He's famous for saying, "You're not a victim, you're a volunteer," a line that's become something of a mantra for fans who see the world as full of opportunities, if you're willing to work for them. To Tyrus, success is earned, not owed, and he regularly calls out what he sees as the damage done by entitlement mentalities. He doesn't hide where he stands politically. Tyrus leans conservative, especially on issues like free speech, gun rights, and traditional values. But he's not a GOP cheerleader. He critiques Republicans just as quickly as he jabs at Democrats. What he hates most is hypocrisy, and he'll call it out wherever he sees it. Whether it's Hollywood celebrities preaching about climate change while flying private jets, or politicians who suddenly discover border security is important when their own neighborhoods are affected. He's not shy. And that's where his real strength lies. He's unpredictable. Tyrus doesn't fit neatly into any box. He'll defend police officers one moment, then tear into the criminal justice system for being broken and biased the next. He's walked both sides of the street, literally and metaphorically, and he speaks from that experience. He often refers to his own rough upbringing, struggles with poverty, and journey through the wrestling world as evidence that your past doesn't have to define your future. Being tough isn't about fighting, he once said. It's about surviving and making smart choices. Anyone can throw a punch. Not everyone can walk away. Tyrus also uses humor as a political weapon. On Gutfeld, he's known for his laid-back demeanor, sarcastic jabs, and one-liners that catch people off guard. He can deflate a heated debate with a single well-placed wisecrack, like when he said, "If I wanted to hear a lecture, I'd call my ex." His comedic timing disarms the audience, but make no mistake, his points cut deep. He uses jokes to make harsh truths easier to digest. Another signature element of Tyrus's commentary is his wariness of cancel culture. He's made it clear that he sees modern wokeness as more oppressive than liberating. "You can't fix the past by erasing it," he once said, during a heated exchange on the rewriting of history and tearing down statues. In his view, America's history, flaws and all, is something to learn from, not erase. He wants tough conversations, not sanitized ones. But Tyrus is also quick to admit that he doesn't have all the answers. That humility, rare in TV punditry, makes his commentary feel more grounded. He admits he's still figuring things out, still evolving. "I don't do politics for a living," he said. "I live life, then I talk about it." That real-world grounding is exactly what separates him from other voices in conservative media. He's not pushing an ideology, he's sharing a perspective. Whether you agree with him or not, Tyrus's presence on Fox News challenges the norm. He's not reading from a teleprompter. He's bringing his lived experience into every discussion. That mix of authenticity, grit, and humor has made him one of the most compelling and polarizing figures in right-leaning media today. And love him or hate him, it's hard to forget some of the things he's said. "I didn't climb out of poverty to be told I'm oppressed." Or, "If common sense is offensive, then maybe we need to be offended more." These aren't just sound bites, they're challenges. Challenges to look at the world without excuses and to take some damn accountability. In the end, Tyrus isn't trying to be your role model or your enemy. He's just trying to be honest. And that's become a rare political act, all on its own. He's living proof that you don't need to follow a typical career blueprint to find success in entertainment. You just need to know who you are, be willing to take risks, and have a good sense of humor about it all. And that's exactly what he brings to the screen, every time, until an awful controversy stained his name and career. Was there truth in all of it? The allegations. Tyrus got caught up in some serious controversy that had nothing to do with body slams or promos. Back in 2019, he was accused of sexual harassment by Britt McHenry, a former Fox Nation co-host, and it sparked a pretty big conversation about workplace behavior and accountability, especially in media organizations like Fox. It all started when both Tyrus and Britt McHenry were working together on a streaming show called UnPC, part of Fox Nation's digital platform. On screen, they were co-hosts, but behind the scenes, things weren't going so smoothly. According to McHenry, Murdoch started sending her text messages that she described as sexually inappropriate and unwanted. These weren't just one-off comments either. She claimed it became a pattern of behavior: sexually charged texts, suggestive jokes, even comments about her appearance that made her uncomfortable. What made it worse, according to McHenry, was the reaction, or lack of one, from Fox management when she brought it up. She said she reported Murdoch's behavior to one of the top executives, Jennifer Rauke. But instead of getting support or seeing action taken, she alleged that her complaints were brushed aside. McHenry claimed she was the one who faced backlash, including being pulled from UNPC, sent to mandatory sexual harassment training, which she saw as a form of retaliation, and overall being treated like she was the problem rather than the one being harassed. The case quickly picked up media attention because of the personalities involved and the fact that it involved Fox News, a company that has had its fair share of sexual misconduct scandals over the years. In December 2019, Britt McHenry officially filed a lawsuit against not just Tyrus, but also Fox News and several of its executives. The lawsuit laid out her full complaint, alleging sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and retaliation. She wasn't just asking for damages, she wanted to hold the company accountable for what she saw as a toxic workplace culture. Now, Tyrus denied all the allegations from the beginning. He said the messages were taken out of context and were part of a friendly, joking relationship between co-workers. Still, a federal judge reviewed the claims and in December 2020 ruled that McHenry had enough ground for the lawsuit to go forward. The judge even referred to Murdoch's alleged behavior as unusually crude and clumsy, which didn't exactly help his defense in the court of public opinion. But then, in July 2021, the legal chapter of the story came to a close. The case was settled out of court. Both sides agreed to dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice, which basically means Britt McHenry couldn't refile the same case in the future. As part of the settlement, she also left Fox News. Interestingly, Tyrus didn't admit any wrongdoing and said that no money exchanged hands on his part. It was a legal truce, but it left a lot of questions lingering in the background. Some saw the settlement as a way to avoid a messy trial. Others felt that the outcome didn't really address the root problems raised in the complaint. Even though the case ended without a trial, it stirred up broader issues about how media companies handle harassment claims, especially when the accused are high-profile figures like Murdoch. It also highlighted how tricky it can be for people who come forward with these kinds of allegations, facing potential retaliation, skepticism, or being pushed out of their jobs while the people they accused stay put. For McHenry, the case seemed to derail her career at Fox, while Tyrus continued appearing on various shows and eventually went back to wrestling full-time. This whole situation with Tyrus wasn't just about one lawsuit. It was a reminder of how messy and complicated workplace harassment cases can be, especially in industries like media and entertainment. Whether you believe one side or the other, it's clear that the fallout had real consequences, and it added yet another chapter to the ongoing conversation about how companies treat these kinds of complaints. For Tyrus, it's a shadow that hangs over his media and wrestling career, no matter how many titles he wins or shows he headlines. Living a private life. Behind the scenes, away from the cameras and public spotlight, there's a softer, more grounded side of him. A man deeply devoted to his family and the simple joys of life. George Murdoch has built a private world that's all about love, parenting, and finding peace with the people who matter most. Tyrus shares his life with Ingrid, a woman who's strong, independent, and supportive. The two make quite a team, balancing the demands of parenting a blended family while staying grounded in their shared values. Together, they raise a beautiful daughter named Georgie, born in 2014. But their household doesn't stop there. Ingrid has two sons, Rhett and Rock, from a previous relationship, and Tyrus himself has other children as well. All in all, they've created a loving, blended family that thrives on respect, support, and plenty of laughter. Despite the challenges that can come with a big family, Tyrus and Ingrid have managed to make it work, prioritizing unity and individual care for each child. They aren't afraid to embrace the messiness and beauty that come with parenting. Whether it's cheering at baseball games or helping with homework, they're hands-on and present in their kids' lives. There's a real sense of togetherness in their home, the kind that doesn't always make headlines but says everything about who Tyrus is when the cameras are off. In 2023, they made a big move that reflected just how much family matters to them. They packed up and relocated to a farm in New Jersey. This wasn't just about fresh air and open land. It was about giving their kids a better, slower, more connected life. The farm has become a place where they can enjoy the outdoors, raise animals, and spend real quality time together. Their daughter Georgie rides horses. The boys stay active with sports, and Tyrus gets to be a present, hands-on dad, not just a weekend one. What's most admirable is how Tyrus embraces his role as a father. He's been open about how his own childhood wasn't easy, and that honesty has shaped how he parents his kids. Instead of repeating the past, he's working to build something better, something full of stability, encouragement, and love. He doesn't pretend to be perfect, but he's clearly someone who shows up for his family every day. At home, Tyrus isn't a celebrity. He's just dad. He's a partner, a role model, and someone who genuinely values the small, everyday moments, feeding animals on the farm, helping with school projects, or watching a movie on the couch. His private life is all about creating a safe, warm space where his children can grow up confident and loved. Tyrus's story is really one of redemption and heart. It's about taking what life gives you and turning it into something meaningful. His commitment to his wife and kids speaks volumes about the man he is away from the spotlight, real, grounded, and completely devoted to the people who call him husband and father. Has he made you gag and a wrestling fan too? For similarly interesting uploads, tune in and subscribe to the channel.